Well, welcome back to my office. In one of my classes, it's an entrepreneurship class, I received a question from a student, and they wrote to me. Well, I'll read what they wrote in just a moment. I wrote a letter back to them here, but I wanted to share that letter because it was an interesting question and it's very thought-provoking. Most of us have, well, we all have parents. Most of us have associated a lot with parents growing up. And we've been told certain things by our parents. And now we go off to school or college and maybe we hear other perspectives. Not that one was right or the other was wrong, but that there's a different perspective. In this particular class, we have an assignment called the failure resume. And that is because it is part of the curriculum that we've adopted for this course. And we do that early on. And interestingly, this question is related to that assignment in a significant way, I believe. Anyway, because most of us have associated pretty closely with parents, or many of us will become parents, I think this is kind of a question not only about entrepreneurship and dreaming big, but also about failure. And it's also a question about helping others succeed, helping them catch a vision, or encouraging them. And because of that, it's a question about parenting too. So I hope you'll enjoy this. The student wrote, "High hopes are a wonderful thing. At least that is," and so let's see, she said, "You said, quote, high hopes are a wonderful thing. At least for me, I was always told as a child not to get my hopes up and don't let my hopes get too high." So my question about this is, like some of my other questions, how do we go from being told one thing all of our lives to forcing ourselves to think a more positive way? And this is what I wrote back. "Interestingly, my answer below is related to the assignment you're going to complete called the failure resume. I suspect that parents often tell their children not to get their hopes up because it is painful to see their children disappointed. They may want their children to choose the safe path that is likely to yield good results instead of the big dream path that may consume much of their most formative and direction-setting portion of their life, i.e. age 15 to 25, but which may result in a huge, painful failing and possibly leave them floundering at what to do next, having missed so much of the safer, surer path while they spent those years chasing an unlikely dream." I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I am a parent and it makes sense to me, even if it seems like a wrong approach. So I guess I'm defending parents just a little bit here as I wrote this to a student. "I am risk-aversive by nature and I love my children. I encourage them. I want them to dream big, but part of me is afraid to encourage them to chase that 1 in 1,000 chance dream because I know that 999 out of 1,000 will be disappointed. Those aren't good odds. So I've tried to learn to see the journey as the focus and not just see the destination as the focus. So while you're on your way to becoming that 1 in 1,000, learn and live and have a backup plan and value what you learn even from the failures." And ta-da, that is where the failure resume item from class comes into play. We have to learn from failure. In fact, on a more kind of entrepreneurial related side note here, a company called IDEO, which is a business whose business is helping other companies innovate, and they're a very innovative company. They have a motto. They have many kind of mantras, and one of them is fail often to succeed sooner. It's tough because parents typically just want good things for their children, and they hate the thought of children being hurt and disappointed and wandering lost through life. I mean, that's a bad dream. That's a nightmare for a parent. You don't want to envision your child spending their life like that. And somehow if they squander the years between 15 and 25 or 30 chasing a dream that 999 of them will not reach, well, then where does that leave them? And does it leave them kind of aimless? And that's what I meant when I said I like to think about the journey and what we learn along the way. Because even if you aren't the 1 out of 1,000 at the end of that journey, perhaps you've learned some pretty valuable things, and that helps you avoid being lost and just wandering aimlessly in life. So to answer her question, I did, in case you're wondering, give an answer to her question about how do we change something that we've been taught all of our lives. You may or may not agree with it, but I'll share that with you as well. The combination of conscientious effort, practice, and time. That is how we go from being told one thing all of our lives to forcing ourselves to think more positive, in a more positive way, to quote her question. The combination of conscientious effort, practice, and time. And I think implied in that is patience. If I've spent 15 to 20 years learning something and now I have to unlearn that and I'm trying to change it, I suppose it will take a bit of time to change that deeply ingrained thinking. I told her I love her question, and I'd love to talk with her about this high hopes concern. I like this thought also, and I shared this with her. Quote, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that one never would have occurred. Let me back up. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamed would come his way. And I might add, woman. But this is a quote, and it goes on, and it says, whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. Close quote. The quote is attributed to the Scottish mountaineer W.H. Murray, who, in sharing that quote, is referencing a thought from the author of the famed play Faust, Johann Wolfgang Goethe, who is the German equivalent, I might say, of Shakespeare. So it's a great quote because it inspires us to actually start and to actually move forward with our dreams. And whether your dream is grandiose and huge and it's a 1 in 1,000 or a 1 in a million chance, you will not achieve it for sure 100% if you don't begin. So there are many thoughts along those lines, and you can find so many really common sense thoughts about that. The ancient proverb that says a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, or the saying that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So don't be afraid to dream. Don't fault your parents if they encourage you to not get your hopes too high. There are times when they're just trying to protect you. But, and we know, if you're a student of economics, that typically the greater the risk, the greater the reward. Pretty directly correlated between things like interest that you will receive on an investment or a return on an investment. If it's a high risk investment, you probably should expect to get a higher interest on it. Or if you're the flip side, an entrepreneur or a business borrowing money and you're viewed as a high risk, you're going to be paying a higher interest rate to the one that loaned you the money. So it's all of those thoughts are kind of intertwined, and I hope it's been interesting and thought-provoking and helpful to you, and that you're not afraid to fail But along the way, you learn lessons that help you succeed in business and in life. And when you are taking the 1 in a million chance, if you're risk averse like me, hopefully you'll also have a backup plan. Good luck.